It was just 1 year ago to the date that you, our third beautiful son, came into the world and, like your brothers before you, changed our lives forever. I think it's safe to say that we were surprised and unprepared initially at our discovery just hours into our lives together that you would be our first son born blind. I can promise from the point you were delivered to our awareness of your blindness to this day now, you have been loved no differently, no less than your mother and father have ever loved a child. When the doctor entered and delivered the news we somewhat assumed your parents were broken for you. We were given time after the pediatrician left to be alone in the room with you, your mother, and me. Your mom and I looked at each other, not in total recognition of what we all were facing, but recognition nonetheless that you were quite special. I played music to you and rubbed your cheek against mine. Your mother nursed and held you close, as a loving mother would. I drove home that night to be with your brothers. On the way home I cried and tried best to see the road through my tears. What sort of life would you have? What more might they discover about this boy I hardly knew? Coming home, with you and your mother still at the hospital, I crawled into bed with your oldest brother just to feel the touch of a loved one. The next morning, after a few hours of sleep, I brought your brothers and taught them how to kiss you, as they too rubbed their faces to yours. You three would have only moments before you were separated for a week. The doctors decided it'd be best to run tests and monitor you closely in the NICU. I held you before you were taken to your MRI and pledged total love and support to you and to the unknown. Days and tests both passed, and your time in the hospital seems like more of a blur to me now than anything. For 5 days you were hooked to sensors, BB machines, tracking you constantly. Wires hung from your chest and feet, and finally we checked out. I remember loading the family car, how departing felt more like an escape. If I could only get those sensors off you, away from more tests, home with your brothers and mom, we'd make it, all of us. With the car in drive and your mom and I focused on the path ahead, we left and never looked back. The road was new, but it was our road to drive and paved with hope and love. It was a year ago you became my son, oh boy whom I love. And although the road remains unknown and the turns are not always foreseen, we are still driving in the freedom of our own directed course, paved with the same hope and love which beat our initial path.